size matters. At least when it comes to the world of giant big screen monsters, and we do love a good oversized creature feature, don't we? Hi everyone, welcome back to The Binger. In 2014, Legendary Pictures launched the Monsterverse with the movie Godzilla, an interconnected cinematic world where giant creatures really do exist.
My god, Zilla.
It continued with Kong Skull Island in 2017. That was followed by Godzilla King of the Monsters in 2019 and Godzilla vs. Kong in 2020. While the franchise's monster mashups are exciting, monsters like King Kong and Godzilla have been a part of pop culture for a very long time. Plus, the ongoing popularity of those monsters have influenced famous filmmakers like Steven Spielberg and J.J. Abrams. That's led to big screen adventures like the Jurassic Park series, the Pacific Rim movies, and the film Cloverfield. In this video, we're tracing the origins of the movie Monsterverse and exploring the massive monsters that populate it. In 1933, the very first King Kong movie started pop culture's love affair with mega monsters. Yeah, there had been rampaging creatures on screen before, as early filmmakers experimented with stop-motion animation, but it was King Kong that captured the hearts and the minds of the people. Part of the reason was that, at its core, King Kong was a Beauty and the Beast story. In both the 1933 original and its 1976 and 2005 remakes, the story is roughly the same. A film crew travels to Skull Island, discovers Kong, and bring him back to civilization to make money off of the spectacle. In the meantime, Kong falls for the pretty blonde who arrives with the film crew. And eventually he ends up meeting his fate after rampaging through New York City and fighting planes on the top of the Empire State Building. In 1933, Kong was just 18 inches tall. Okay, honestly we're talking about the model of the great ape. The stop-motion animation used to bring King Kong to life was groundbreaking at the time, and it left audiences astonished. It actually still holds up pretty well today. In the world of the movie though, Kong was 18 feet tall and magically grew to 24 feet tall once he reached New York. The creator of the character, Marion C. Copper, wanted Kong to be 50 feet tall, but apparently the animators decided to go a little bit smaller. Later versions of the character often made him closer to what Copper envisioned. And in Kong Skull Island, he is 100 feet tall. That's one oversized gorilla. And it makes sense that he would be. Kong has no special powers beyond those of a typical great ape. His strength is proportional to his size, so the taller he grows, the stronger he gets. In his movies, King Kong is powerful because he can squash people like bugs. That's what makes him scary, but also what makes him so sympathetic. He doesn't mean to scare people and destroy cities, he's just too big not to do it. It wasn't until over 20 years and 2 nuclear weapon detonations later, in 1954, that Godzilla first appeared on screen. But his origins can be directly traced back to King Kong and another American movie, 1953's The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Producer Tomoyuki Tanaka of Japan's Toho Studios was likely aware of both films when he decided to commission a new creature feature. There are numerous parallels between the movie that would eventually become Godzilla and King Kong and the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Like those films, Godzilla included a huge monster awakened by atomic testing and a ridiculously destructive rampage through a major city. While King Kong resonated for its Beauty and the Beast parallels, Godzilla was an allegory for the dangers of nuclear weapons. And it was a message that resonated with the Japanese at the time because the explosions in Hiroshima and Nagasaki were a recent memory. Godzilla was so popular that he spawned a franchise that just keeps going. While Godzilla movies have gone through different phases over the years, pop culture's never gone too long without one. Plus, he started his own genre, the Kaiju movies. Kaiju is a Japanese word that means strange beast. And over the years, more than a few strange beasts would join Godzilla, including Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah. Unlike King Kong, these beasts all had their own special powers. Godzilla can emit atomic breath that stops anyone, including big beasties, right in their tracks. Meanwhile, Rodan, a ginormous flying pterosaur, resides in a volcano and can start shockwaves with his wings. Since the destruction of a city by a single kaiju only has so much resonance, Toho soon started a tradition of monster smackdowns. The different kaiju would go up against one another or ally with one another depending upon the story. Given his origins as an avatar of nuclear destruction, Godzilla was a purely malevolent force early in his history. In subsequent films, especially in the modern-day Monsterverse, he's become something else entirely, a protector. Sure, he made a big mess when he walked through places like San Francisco in 2014's Godzilla reboot, or Boston in 2019's King of the Monsters, but at his core, Godzilla is humanity's savior. According to the lore of the movie, his goal is to maintain the balance of nature and save humans from the other giant monsters that plague them. In King of the Monsters, he even goes up against King Ghidorah, whose goal is nothing more than absolute devastation and destruction. This may be why Godzilla and Ghidorah are locked in an ancient beef. Even though Ghidorah is 521 feet tall and has 3 regenerating heads, Godzilla, at 393 feet tall, is considered the only one who can take him on. And at almost 400 feet tall, Godzilla is the tallest he has ever been. Yeah, he's grown over the years, sure, just like King Kong, but he also started out bigger. In 1954, Godzilla was 154 feet when he made his film debut. If their sizes stay the same, a 100-foot Kong will battle an almost 400-foot Godzilla in Godzilla vs. Kong. Needless to say, filmmakers will probably do something to make the matchup more even, size-wise. Because if they don't, it's probably not going to be a very long fight. With the rise of Godzilla in Japan, Asian cinema became the center of monster cinema, with Hong Kong and South Korea producing kaiju movies too. Meanwhile, in the United States, the genre took a backseat to other stories. There was a brief flicker of destructive life when Steven Spielberg's breakthrough Jaws took a bite out of the big screen in 1975. The movie was a box office win for giant animals everywhere, while audiences left the theater afraid to go into the water. That triumph was short-lived though. Soon, a little movie called Star Wars came along, and American audiences' attention shifted elsewhere. It wasn't until 1993 that a new American kaiju movie captured audiences' imaginations on a mass scale. That movie was Jurassic Park, another film that exists thanks to Mr. Steven Spielberg. In creating the movie, Spielberg was clearly influenced by both Godzilla and King Kong. In fact, Spielberg has called Godzilla the most masterful of all the dinosaur movies. The rampaging dinos of Jurassic Park seem to take many of their cues from Godzilla's rampaging lizard. King Kong was no slouch in the dinosaur department either. While they were overshadowed by the movie's star, Skull Island was populated by a host of dinos. Kong even has a lengthy stop-motion battle with a T-Rex in the original film. Of course, at the same time that Spielberg's influences could be traced back to Godzilla and Kong, he influenced future monster films. In particular, he ushered in a new era of computer-generated imagery. Jurassic Park's photorealistic dinosaurs were an amazing sight to behold and set the standard for other monster movies going forward. More than that though, like Godzilla, Jurassic Park was a reaction to the times in which it came out. It may be a romp of a movie, but on the heels of the AIDS crisis, the story reads as a cautionary tale. The film scientists brought dinosaurs back from extinction because they could, but never wondered if they should. That disregard is punished when the dinos bite back at their makers and everyone else in the vicinity. Jurassic Park, of course, spawned a trilogy, and the franchise was revived with Jurassic World in 2015. The centerpiece of Jurassic Park showed a Tyrannosaurus Rex destroying the park's visitor center. However, that film showed that many dinosaurs were deadly regardless of their size. I mean, who can forget the Velociraptors, which were supposed to be only 6 feet tall, menacing Lex and Tim? It was in Jurassic World that size became more significant. The dino antagonist of that movie was Indominus Rex, a genetically engineered beast that was 50 feet tall. In Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the dinosaur Nemesis comes back to Earth a bit. That movie's genetically engineered antagonist is a mere 10 feet tall. Nonetheless though, these dinosaurs combine the most lethal characteristics of other dino, making them monsters on the level of Godzilla. In other words, it's human scientific folly that creates them and leads to their deadly destruction. Another filmmaker who was influenced by the kaiju movie of the past was J.J. Abrams. That influence can be seen in 2008's Cloverfield. Abrams conceived the movie's story. In fact, he's attributed his desire to make a monster movie to Godzilla. He explained that the seed of the idea for Cloverfield came from when he went to Japan. During his stay, he visited toy stores with his son. The stores had all sorts of Godzilla toys, and Abrams thought that Americans need our own monster, and not King Kong. King Kong's adorable. I wanted something insane and intense. Still, Godzilla didn't influence the design of the Cloverfield monster itself. Neville Page, who created the monster, didn't want to imitate Godzilla because Cloverfield wasn't a Godzilla movie. Instead, he went with a long, thin water creature that, at 250 feet tall, with deadly parasites falling off of it, was scarily unique. And here's another fun monster movie connection. Even though Abrams didn't want to go with a Kong-type monster for Cloverfield, director Matt Reeves found a way to work him in anyway. Around an hour and 6 minutes into the movie, a brief snippet of 1933's King Kong is cut into the film. It's a blink and you'll miss it type of moment, but Reeves included it as a tribute. One of the most interesting things about Cloverfield is the lack of context that it provides for its monster. The movie is made in the style of a found footage film like The Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity. That gives viewers a ground-level view of the people under attack. So, just like the characters whose eyes we witness the movie through, viewers don't have any idea why the monster's attacking. We're just dropped into the experience of an out-of-nowhere disaster. In Godzilla and Jurassic Park, audiences are given an explanation for the monster's existence. However, King Kong never gets an origin story in his movies, even in his most recent incarnation in Kong Skull Island. So in this respect, Cloverfield bears some resemblance to Kong. Yet, there's a reason for the lack of explanation in Cloverfield. The filmmakers have said that the movie is a metaphor for 9/11. Once again, the filmmakers took their cues from Godzilla. Just like that movie was a metaphor for the anxieties facing Japan in 1954, Cloverfield did the same exact thing for Americans post 9/11 fears. The attacks on the Twin Towers came out of nowhere, and so did the monster of Cloverfield. Last on our list of monster movies is Pacific Rim, perhaps the clearest homage to kaiju films in recent history. Monster movie auteur Guillermo del Toro co-wrote and directed the movie and even explicitly used the name Kaiju for the monsters in the film. In fact, the movie wears the influence of Godzilla on its sleeve. Just like Godzilla arose from the ocean and attacked a city, the Kaiju in Pacific Rim do the same. There's just more of them. Many more of them. The kaiju of Pacific Rim are all different, but they mostly stand about 200 feet tall. At the small end of the spectrum is Onibaba, who is 188 feet tall. Still, he managed to destroy Tokyo at one point. At the taller and angrier end of the spectrum is Leatherback, who's 267 feet tall. Then there's Slattern, who takes things to a whole new level. This creature is 596 feet tall and would give any other kaiju a run for its money. For Pacific Rim fans, an open question is whether the universe will ever cross over with the Monsterverse of Godzilla and King Kong. Both properties are owned by Legendary Pictures, so there wouldn't be a rights issue. However, it's unclear if the studio would want to go in that direction. The question of a crossover has been posed to Pacific Rim director Del Toro and the director of its sequel, Stephen S. DeKnight. Both men were enthusiastic about the possibility of the prospect of seeing the world of Pacific Rim enter the world of Godzilla. Del Toro said that would be too much fun for the human brain. There aren't any plans for the kaiju of Pacific Rim to officially join the Monsterverse, right now. You never know though. In a world where giant monsters exist, it seems logical that they'd keep multiplying too. Which of these mega monsters are your favorite? Are there any that you were hoping to see in the Monsterverse that haven't appeared yet? Weigh in the comment section down below. And before you go, don't forget to give this video a nice big thumbs up and subscribe to The Binger. Thanks for watching.